Thank you. All right. Good morning, everyone. Just making sure that I saw everything. Mr. Heckendorf, did you file something? I want to make sure I saw something if you filed it.
I did not, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Oh, and then there was something you filed this morning. Hang on, everyone. There were several things filed this morning. I believe Ms. Zayas filed several things this morning, so let me just have a look at those.
And Your Honor, I haven't yet received or had a chance to review if things have been filed this morning. So I might ask for a minute to look into that.
So I can tell you what was filed this morning. Two of them bear a heading of federal district court. One of them is filed in this case in Superior Court, although there's not a note for motion. And so it's not for today's hearing. It is a motion for writ of habeas corpus. So it's not noted for today's hearing. So I won't be addressing that one today. So we're
Thank you.
You all are before the court for a 30-day hearing after the court removed Amaya and Anya from home. And I did review the department's reports on those cases. Anything additional, Ms. McCoy, from the department for the 30-day?
No, Your Honor. I do have just a preliminary issue if the court would like to address that. Your Honor, I'm just concerned at this point that Ms. Zayas is recording this proceeding. She has made threats in the past. So if the court can inquire whether or not she's recording any of these proceedings, we want to ensure that they're not posted anywhere and for the children's sake and confidentiality.
Ms. Zayas, are you recording?
I know how to mute out my child's name. I'm not that retarded.
Okay.
Yes, I am recording.
Okay.
I'm allowed to record.
Okay. So you actually can't record because we're in a dependency proceeding. It's an open court, but recording it does create risks to the children.
It's already being recorded. What are you talking about?
So
it's already being recorded.
So in order for you to participate, I need you to put the phone down, and if you don't, I'm not going to be able to let you participate by Zoom.
That's fucked up.
Are you willing to put the phone down and stop recording?
Fuck no. Are you serious? You guys are committing a crime against me. Are you fucking high?
All right.
This is a crime. You can't take my kids for no reason.
So if you're not willing...
I'm suing you today. Again, I'm suing you today. You and that bitch right there. I'm suing you both today. Again.
All right.
You're already sued. I don't get it. You've already been sued. I don't get why you commit crimes.
So I'm going to remove you from the Zoom now, Ms. Zayas, since you haven't agreed to...
Bye, bitch.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. McCoy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Today, the department is requesting, as for visitation as to Amaya, to remain as previously ordered. Visits were at Amaya's discretion. Since we were here last, Amaya has not wished to visit with her mother. If she does wish to visit, the department is requesting for those visits to remain supervised and at the frequency as they were. We have the department, we have the CASA, we have Amaya's attorney, and the caregivers all asking Amaya if she wants to visit with her mother. So we're trying to be very cautious of that, asking to ensure that we're just not being ill too much, asking all the time, but we want to ensure that she knows that whenever she wants to visit, she has an opportunity to do so.
Well, and she did have a phone call with her mother regarding Marcella, as I read in the declaration. So.
Yes, yeah, and then as to Marcella as well, the department has offered to take Amaya, but she just did not wish to see Marcella in that state. So as to our knowledge, Marcel is, we believe, still alive, so we'll continue to ask her if it does come to that point, if she wants to go see Marcel. As to Anya, Your Honor, today the department is actually asking to liberalize mother's visitation. It was supervised. We're asking for monitored with 15-minute check-ins. The reason for that is because visits are going okay. The mom has made statements in visits, but her interaction with Anya has actually been okay. However, she sent that email, which we attached as an exhibit in the declaration, where she does intend to use a belt against Amaya. Additionally, there was that incident on May 23rd where she met Amaya at the bus stop, and Amaya was really upset after that. So we are concerned about mother's behaviors and how she will be with Anya's visits. Additionally, Your Honor, that we just want to put on the record, this wasn't in our declaration because it happened afterwards. Ms. Zayas told the department that she plans to put a tracker on Anya during a visit, so then Ms. Zayas will know where Anya is placed at. This is of great concern because she did the same thing to Amaya. She did a tracking on the iPad. So the department is really concerned if these visits are completely unsupervised. Unfortunately, what the mother will say or potentially do, especially with tracking, the department's going to ensure that the visit transporters do know about this, about that threat, to ensure that Anya doesn't have any tracking devices on her. As towards relative placement, as recently as this morning, Ms. Zayas actually indicated that there is a sister in Kansas that potentially could be placement. So the department is going to look into this. This is a sister that the department has reached out to in the past, and she wanted nothing to do with this process, unfortunately, but we're going to try again. As towards the older sister, Jasmine, the department just has been unable to locate or communicate with her, but we're going to still try to vet out those relative placements. I believe that is it from the department stance, but Ms. Pugarinoso is present if you'd like to hear from her.
I don't have any questions. Thank you very much for your very comprehensive report.
Thank you.
So other council may have questions for you.
Okay.
So I'll turn to Ms. Droston-Hanks next.
Thank you, Your Honor, and also thank you for allowing my remote appearance this morning. I had some delays with being able to connect with Amaya since she's been in this new placement, but I was able to connect with her this late last week, and I was also able to visit Anya. I was appointed to Anya's case last week as well and visited her over the weekend. In line with what the department has stated, Amaya stated to me that she's happy where she is. She has no desire to visit with her mom. She seems to be integrating really well into her current placement. I do have some concerns around whether she can safely remain in this placement, given that it's in the same apartment complex, in fact, the building right next door to her mother, and given the mother's threats and the showing up at the bus stop and that sort of thing. Right now it seems stable, but I think that it continues to be imperative that we look at options in case something were to occur and we need a new placement for Amaya in the future. Anya seems to be doing well in her current placement. She seems happy. She seems to be doing well. She seems to be making some strides in terms of her eating, her comfort with new situations, her abilities to go up and down stairs, things like that. So those are all seem to be good improvements over the last month. And the caregiver has been providing appropriate medical care, and will be taking her to the dentist later during the summer when the caregiver has a little bit more flexibility in her scheduling. So all in all, the kids seem to be doing well. It does seem to be a bit stressful in terms of how to relate, for Amaya, stressful in terms of how or if she wants to relate to her mother, but she seems to be doing well as she can be in the circumstances. Mothers, as the court is aware, mothers' mental health or substance use continues to be an issue. It continues to be an issue not only in this case, but in what seems to be going on in Marcel's case as well. His Title 11 guardianship case seems to have there seems to be some concerning behaviors there. And so overall, there just seems to be a continued need for the kids to remain out of home, and for services to continue to be offered to the mother to address whatever needs she may have that might help to someday reunify this family. I also received the news this morning about the potential placement with the aunt. This is news to me, and so I'll continue to look into that. I do support the idea of exploring placements for the girls where they can be together, and if they can be with a relative, that's all the better. So, but I don't know anything else about this aunt besides that she exists. So I will join the department in looking into this myself as well. And I'm available if the court has any other questions.
Was the proposal for placing the girls together with Anya's current caregiver after school is out? Because that was discussed of after school is out, moving Anya. Was that with Anya's current caregiver?
Yes, and they've started sibling visits and how to overnight to build rapport. So we're just kind of taking it day by day. Anya's current caregiver has kind of started that conversation with Amaya. She's a little resistant right now. It's still fresh, but we're hoping that, as time passes, that she'd feel more comfortable. So,
Ms. Johnson-Hanks, what is your position if the department desires to place Amaya with Anya and Anya's current caregiver?
I don't have any. I'll start by saying I have no concerns around whether Anya's caregiver would be safe and appropriate and all that, if that's where we had to go. But Amaya's really happy with where she is. When I kind of broached the subject of, do you want to be placed with Anya? Is that something you're interested in? She seems to feel that she's very worried about Anya doing well and wants to take care of Anya. She's used to doing that, and so she wants to do that. But she also seems to be comfortable with the care Anya's receiving in her Anya's placement, and seems to feel like she is happy and comfortable. Amaya feels she's happy and comfortable where she is. And so right now, my instinct is to defer to Amaya and listen to her if she's saying that she's okay with where she is, until or unless there becomes a safety reason that we need to move her elsewhere. And as I said to the court, I do feel like that's a possibility in this case, but until that occurs, as long as we continue to feel like things are okay for now, that it makes sense to keep the kids in their current placement and somewhat to defer to where Amaya's wishes are.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hagendorf.
So, Your Honor, I don't have a whole lot to add. My client continues to decline visits with her mother, but of course, I'd like her to continue to have discretion. I think she would like to visit with her older sister, Jamie, if she can be located. She continues to enjoy visits with her younger sister, Anya. In terms of her being moved, at this point in time, I don't think she's in favor of that. I guess the other concern or problem might be whether the current placement for Amaya is willing to continue. There are some, not issues there, but I'm not sure she wants to be a long-term placement. Of course, it'd be ideal to check out the relative in Kansas. I haven't had a chance to talk to my client about it. I'm just finding out about it today. Other than that, she continues to do well in school. She's happy in her current placement and doesn't want. And my other understanding is that she's in counseling with someone at the school and has another counselor also. So I guess I'd want that to continue. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I will change visitation to monitored for Anya. The court's not at all surprised that visitation is going really well. And that is appropriate. I remember the issue with the tracker with Amaya, and so the department can equip the visit supervisor to make sure that doesn't happen with Anya. Everything will remain the same with respect to Amaya, although I will ask the department to make sure that when school is out, that Amaya has some sort of counseling that's still available apart from school, even if it is the same school person, but that it is happening over the summertime. And I expect that you all will be having shared meetings in the future about change of placement before before it happens. Normally, it's urgent for the kids to be together. However, it sounds like with them being able to visit liberally, including overnights, and given what Amaya had endured as far as essentially being the caregiver for Anya for such a long time, it's understandable if Amaya wants to have a bit of separation. So I don't see the normal urgency of placing the girls together unless you all determine that that's what would be best for both of them, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
So I hesitate to not have a sooner hearing than a 5-month one.
Okay.
Just because I expect that things will be dynamic in this case, and there may be issues. So let me ask, does the department want to set a hearing, or does the department want to just set one if necessary moving forward?
We can just set one today, and then if for some reason all parties agree to strike it, we can. But I think it's a good idea to do a check-in, even an interim review hearing. I'll defer to the court how soon the court would like to do that.
I'm inclined to do 60 days unless someone has a better idea. Does that, I see Ms. Johnson-Hanks is nodding. Mr. Heckendorf, is 60 days good for you?
Yes, that makes sense. I agree with the earlier hearing because perhaps mother won't record and actually participate more fully.
Yeah. And I know that that social worker continues to reach out to mom and have contact with mom, and hopefully encourage her to get counsel. Might make things easier for her. But all right, let's do August. Is that the 5th? August 5th at 8:30. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Do you swear or affirm that your testimony will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And just so it's not entirely schizophrenic, you don't have to ask yourself questions and then answer the questions because that becomes really complicated. You are representing yourself. So if you want to basically tell me your story, you can do that. If one of the other attorneys objects, if they start objecting, just stop talking so I can hear what their objection is. Okay? All right.
Okay. So I'm going to start with not my other dependencies, because I believe that what happened to me before and the other dependencies was and not just a mistake. It was just a long bad thing that happened that I don't want to talk about anymore. But and every time I teach my children about what happened to my older children, or I teach my daughter what happened to my older children, I always try to make it like something positive, like they went over to their dads, or they went, and so it's never anything negative, because I don't want them to feel like mom is a horrible person or what happened was such a horrible thing. So I don't talk about it that much. But I believe that there are no mistakes in life, and I believe that there are no accidents in life. And I believe that I was brought back here for a reason. I don't care what everybody thinks about drugs or whatever you guys think. I don't know what level you're on. But since I have given birth to this child, a lot of things have happened to me health-wise to where I cannot freely smoke cigarettes or freely smoke anything at that matter. Like any type of smoke that goes in my lungs, my hands and feet swell up immediately. I cannot do anything that makes my heart go faster, or even going upstairs. I can't do anything like that. So
Miss Ayers, can I interrupt you for just a minute? When you say this child, do you mean Cecilia, the child that you had in February? Okay, just clarifying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, after her birth, throughout my pregnancy, I thought it was fine. I thought I swelled up a lot, abnormally a lot, and I about drug use. And they did, of course they mentioned it. They mentioned it as, yeah, she has a history of drug use, but they never mentioned it like they thought that was a problem at the time of my pregnancy. So they did mention it, of course, they have to. But they put it as in, this is what she used to do and blah, blah, blah. And so basically, when I gave birth, I did not think that the hospital was calling CPS on me all the time. I didn't think any of that because I thought they were on my side, and I thought they, because I had a child with me. I have a 5-year-old with me. Why would you guys be calling CPS? And I guess I found out later in the discovery that they were all like plotting to take my child, and so it kind of hurt my feelings a lot because I had no idea that they were that serious about taking Cecilia. And thank God that she was adopted because that was their plan. And I had no clue. And one little dirty UA, like honestly, my whole pregnancy, they have found 0 UAs, and I don't know what they're talking about, but they're so bent on that one. And it's like this big old deal, and they were going to take her for that one. And it was like, I just thought to myself, thank God I did what I did because I had no clue it was that serious. I had no clue they were going to try to kidnap her at birth. Mariah was in touch with me in the beginning of the pregnancy, and then when they knew I was pregnant, they just kind of went underwater for a minute and came back up right when she was born. And this was all they knew they were coming back, and it was all planned out, and when I agreed to do those UAs, those four UAs for them, I did not know it would come up dirty. I had no clue. I would not pee willingly in a cup and just pee. I don't do that, Yes, I do know how to clean my UAs. I would never give you a UA that was dirty. I just wouldn't do that. And so when it came up dirty, I thought it was a lie, and I went crazy on her. So I was like, oh my God, they're setting me up. It's all on purpose. But what killed me the most is I didn't know anything about this lockdown. I don't think anybody really knew a lot about it, but the schools did. The schools knew about the lockdown, and the courts did because they even said it in their court order from the 16th of March that was on the day that she was removed. It said, do not remove children because it's going to be months before the next court date. And they knew this. And the fact that they knew this is the reason why they didn't go on the record for the hearing.
I'm sorry. I have to interject if you say objection to the mother stating the contents of any documents or order.
Emergency order number 6.
If it's meant to be admitted for the truth of the matter asserted, opposed to her perception.
All right. Well, your objection is noted. It is overruled to the extent Ms. Zayas is referring to emergency order number 6. I can take judicial notice of it. It is an official.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know anything about it, and nobody at the courtroom or that day or the day before said, hey, look, it's going to be a while before you see your kid again. Nobody told me anything like that. Nobody explained to me, you're not going to be able to hold your daughter for 4 months. Nobody told me that. They just took me home and they said, well, you can have a visit today. And I had a visit that day. And then I had a visit the next day because I think they knew it was going to be a while. But they still never told me it would be a while. Nobody told me anything. And then my daughter, the reason she's angry is because you separated her from me. That's why she's angry. She's angry because that's what happens when you take love from somebody. Where there's no love, there's anger, and there's fear. And she's scared and angry because she's taken from her mother. That's why she's angry. And she's never hit anybody in her life. She's never been angry. She's never been sad. She's never even cried this much in her life. And so I know that this is all from being separated, and that 6 weeks apart was horrible. And I can't think of any other time in my life when I felt so. I can't even, when I read my emails now, I read my emails to my lawyer and to, Jamal and to Julie, where I read how upset I was and how crazy I went. I can't help but cry because it just brings me right back to that moment. And And they ignored me for 4 months. Even Judge Mess had ignored me. And I had begged her for in-person visits for 4 months. And nobody even acknowledged my existence. But they sat on the docket. I saw them on the docket. They were there. But nobody was there because nobody would help me. And nobody would get me my visits that I was asking for. And I was allowed to ask for these visits. This had nothing to do with child abuse. My daughter was never abused. She was when she went to daycare that day, she was perfectly fine. She was happy. She knew there was no school, and I told her there was no school for another month. I didn't know what was going to happen. Nobody knew what was going to happen, but my daycare was still open. And she was happy to go to daycare because she wanted to sit at home all day and be bored. She loves her puppy and everything, but I wouldn't let her go outside alone with her puppy, and she wanted to so badly, and she's like, just get out the house, go to daycare or whatever. And she wanted to go, and I let her go, and she was taken the first day, and she never came home again. And put in a stranger's house, and she hasn't been to me the same since. I don't know. She doesn't understand what's going on. She always asks me, like, why, what happened, why, what did you do wrong, Mom? What did you do wrong? And I'm like, I can't even not allowed to tell her what I did wrong. Because, well, I didn't do anything wrong. I went pee in a cup. But I had given the social workers I didn't know it was that in the pee either. I thought to myself, maybe there's something in my house I'm touching that has drugs on it that I just don't know I'm touching. Maybe it's something I'm doing. And I looked for all around my house to see if maybe it's a pill I'm taking or something. And then I looked at my medication and I Googled it. And I was like, wow. And it was like the first thing that came up. And so I gave it to them, and it didn't even matter. I gave it to them on the 25th. I gave them a letter from my doctor on the 25th saying, hey, it could be her medication. It didn't even matter. None of it mattered. Because they knew that it was lockdown, and it didn't matter anyway because we couldn't have court for months anyway. I mean, I got a dirty UA on Friday, this last Friday. And that's what he's going to show you for evidence. And it shows you, I don't know when these come up. I'm not going to give you dirty people. Why would I do that? That's stupid. I mean, I don't do that. But I went pee, I paid for it myself, and it's still dirty. I can't help when it's dirty, I can't help when it's not dirty. I don't do it myself. I don't use drugs, but I can't tell you I don't use drugs because I just look stupid because my pee looks dirty. So that's life. But I mean, all I can do is tell you that your own government says that it should be dirty or it could be dirty with that medication, and I can't say anything else. And I told them to retest any dirty samples, and they told me to contact the lab, and that could probably be done. I'm not sure how that makes me a bad parent. I don't know how Maya was ever abused. I've never seen her abused before in my care. All those videos and pictures of her are pictures of a perfect child. She's perfect. She's happy. She's never had any depression, anger, or anything in her life, but she's only 5. And she shouldn't have that at all. But she's been traumatized now. She's angry because she was taken from her mother. And yeah, I got priors or whatever, but honestly, those priors should have never happened. And I think it's a lot deeper than anything we can see from just my case. And I'm determined to find out what it is. And it's not just the forgery. I was brought back here for a reason. Like that's what's probably going to hold it, because it's wrong to do that no matter what. I mean, it's a piece of paper, who cares, whatever. But there's a reason that it happened this way, and I can't help but think that there's a reason I was brought back here, and there's a reason why. I didn't see the forgery until July. I didn't even know it existed until July. Nobody told me anything. Nobody gave me the shelter care hearing order and the shelter care hearing. I never received it. You see, my signature's not on it. And neither is the CPS worker's signatures. Nobody's signature's on it that wants anything to do with forgery. Nobody, except for the forged signature. And that in itself is proof that I have no clue it existed. And I didn't know anything about it until July. But regardless, it caused I think it caused separation between me and my and now our relationship is damaged because we had that time away, and I was allowed to ask for a visitation in person. That was my right, and nobody gave me that, and nobody gave me an administrative hearing. I asked and begged for an administrative hearing from day one from Julie DeCamp. I asked her every single email. I swear to God, I have them all, like 35 emails. I asked her, can I have an administrative hearing? Can I have it? She said no, because there are no findings. This is risk only, is what she said. You can't, she said you cannot, get a hearing for something where there's no findings. So then I'm like, aren't we going on like 7 months now and I have no kid? But there's no findings. This makes no sense to me. But Julie DeCamp told me I could not have an administrative hearing for months. And then when I found that forgery, I thought, wow, maybe this is why I can't have an administrative hearing, because I never even had a shelter care hearing. And that would show, if I had an administrative hearing, they would know that, well, where's your shelter care hearing? Or why is this, and then I would find the order, and then I would, be upset or whatever. But I don't know if that's why, or if it's because there really were no findings. I don't know what to believe, because the judge likes me, so I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I don't like the police anymore either, because I call them like, God, I don't know how many times I was at their door crying and asking them about these documents and saying, is this real? And they lied to me and told me to go home. I was confused when you're separated from your child for that long and there's no reason, nobody's helping you, everyone's just ignoring you, treating you like a real child abuser, like you really abused your child. I never abused my child, and they have no proof of it. Zero. What they have is dirty ways. That's not child abuse, especially if you're someone on any kind of, if a parent is on Oxycontin and they're taking care of their child, now they're abusers. No, that doesn't work like that. I have to take this medication. I can't help it. I cannot stop this. I tried stopping last week to take this medication for one little stupid UA, and my left hand and left foot swelled up the size of my freaking head. And I had to go to the hospital because, you stopped taking your medication. That's what happened. The doctor said, don't stop taking your medication. I'm like, I can't even stop just for one day. So I'd like to stop. And I've offered to wear the patch. Nobody's even said, hey, yeah, we'll do that for you. Nobody said that. I offered to wear it. I offered to pay for it. That was in May. I still have the text message where I offered to wear a drug patch where it monitors your drug use. And it would see when my levels were up or down or whatever. Nobody said, hey, we'll help you out with that. I've offered an alternative. And my daughter needs to come home. I don't abuse my child. Yes, I do tell her not to talk to anybody, because this is what happens when she does, and it's heartbreaking. But I wish I would have told my kids that a long time ago, because they were interviewed illegally like 7 times before they were taken, and each time they were interrogated. Interrogated means bullied, told what to say, and that's what CPS does. They come in and that's sometimes what CPS does. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But in my case before, they bullied my children into saying things that really weren't true, and they bullied my children because they were doing other things. A child should not have to be a person to tell on their parents or to say bad things about their parents. Mentally, it's not good for them. And anytime you separate a child from their parents, it's no what. But I think I was brought back here for a reason. And I think that now that this, as soon as I found that forgery, I think this case to me, the state case at the state level became all like fake, like fraudulent, fake, and weird, and just totally. So to me, at the state level, I've completely lost faith. I've lost faith in people doing their job right and people doing their job correctly, because they're so scared that they're going to get in trouble for this, that they're trying to hurry up and shut me up, or hurry up and throw me out, or hurry up and terminate my rights, because they're scared of their crimes. And that makes it bad. Maybe that's where I wish they could just transfer my whole case to federal court, because I think the federal judges are much better, or much nicer, and much more, constitutional than the Title IV judges, because they don't get Title IV, I don't think. Maybe they do. No, they don't. But the title funding is a hot commodity against that. I don't know why anyone would want a child to stay in a foster home that doesn't need to be in a foster home. It makes no sense. But I'm glad I'm my own attorney, and I'm glad I can talk for myself, even though I talk a lot of crap. I think that is vital, and I think that, like I said, there's no mistakes. So everything I said, I mean. And as stupid, as dumb, as retarded as it may sound to everybody else, I made a lot of mistakes along the way, and a lot of people corrected me, and I'm glad they corrected me. But and everything, like I said, it happens for a reason. But I learn every time I say something crazy, you know, like if it's wrong or whatever. But it's all my feelings, and it's all how I feel. It doesn't mean I'm a bad parent. It doesn't mean I'm going to beat children. I have a puppy. I have two guinea pigs. They're just fine and dandy. They're not, you know, being tortured. Amaya's been fine. She's always been fine. And I think they were just mad because they couldn't get the baby. And I gave the baby up for adoption to some people who deserved it. And I never got any money for anything like Chelsea things or whatever. I'm not like the state, you know. I gave her up for adoption because I knew they were coming. And I knew they were going to come try to take her. And I figured I didn't want to sacrifice. I didn't want them to come take two kids, and I might as well just give one kid up for adoption. Maybe they'll see that I did a good thing and leave me alone, but that just pissed them off even more. And so they're like, they took her anyway. So they wanted to take her at the first shelter care hearing, but they couldn't because I said I would take UAs. And I did take the UAs, and I still got in trouble for voluntary UAs. Like, I did everything they told me to do, and kept doing everything they told me to do, and still got in trouble. And I don't get it. It was 1 out of 4. There was 4 UAs. 1 was dirty out of 4. So there was 2 after that 1 that were clean, and they still took her. And I'm like, what? Like, and I knew it was because they knew they were about to go on lockdown. They needed that one head, that one little chunk of change, you know, before the lockdown, because they knew it was about to happen, and I had no clue. They're never going to be okay with it because I'm suing them. So they're going to be, yeah, of course. They're going to retaliate all day. Yeah, I would too. So I'll never cooperate, and they'll never cooperate. They're mad because I'm suing them, and rightfully so. And that's great because fine, but I mean, like I said, there are no mistakes. There's no accidents. This wasn't an accident. I was supposed to say everything I said in all those lawsuits. I was supposed to say that. As stupid as they sound, I don't care what I'm an attorney, whatever, all that was, she sounds stupid, but, I mean, they were supposed to read it. This was supposed to happen. So I feel like my job at CPS, my job being a parent with CPS is not over. I've been in a dependency for 11 years straight. And I did everything great, good, fine. I kept signing papers left and right, my dumb ass. I just signed everything. I'll never do that again. That was the biggest mistake I ever made was signing. Biggest mistake I ever made was signing the dependency. I will never do that again. Because that's what led me into like a 6-year hell of, you know, going in circles, doing it. I did everything. You know, I did the treatment. I did this, I did that. Doesn't matter what I do. They're going to keep putting me in circles of, oh, well, she didn't do this. Oh, well, she didn't do that. Look, I got a clean UA, and then it's like, oh, no, she got a clean UA, but so what? That doesn't mean she gets her kid back. I mean, really? Like, it doesn't matter if I'm clean or dirty. It doesn't matter. They're going to put me in circles anyway because they just need income. I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. I think they're just bored. But it really doesn't, I don't know. I put in my evidence as her being perfectly fine. I can't do anything else but that. I mean, you can sit there and say all day, oh, she's a bad parent because she's got dirty pee. You know, I still don't see child abuse, so I guess I'm waiting for that. But I don't see any. They say they want my daughter home, but they won't let her come visit me at my house. They say they want my daughter home, but I only get 4 hours a week. So that doesn't show me they want my daughter home. What that shows me is they want to try to sell my daughter for adoption assistance to these parents, but they allow the parents to go by mother and father. So my daughter still calls them mother and father. They allow this. This is what CPS allows. I tell them every week, I'm like, why is she still calling them mother and father? Well, we can't talk to her about that. Be quiet. What? But now they're allowed to call each other mother and father, I guess. Yeah, I don't think there's any mistake in life, and I think that, it's like, it's almost like the longer they keep her, the more, like, I find more stuff that is, nobody else cares about whether or not that document was forged. Only me, but if you think about it, even people who, murder thousands of people, they still get, proper court hearings, and they still get to visit their children. People in prison get more time than we do out here seeing their children, and that's really sad. But, my rights were all slaughtered, and it didn't matter because of COVID, and they're probably going to blame it on COVID when we go to trial. Of course, it wasn't the forgery, it was COVID. Yeah, it was COVID, but they knew COVID was happening before, and they knew that that emergency order, number 6, came into play on the 16th. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did happen, and it ruined our relationship. It ruined her trust in me. She doesn't trust me anymore. I wouldn't trust me anymore either. House full of strangers trying to conform to their lifestyle and behavior, wondering what the hell and why she's still there. But we can't talk about it, so it doesn't matter. She was supposed to start school with me this year, and she didn't. But I think everything happens for a reason. And honestly, my behavior or my, whatever you call it, the way I act and the way whatever medications I'm on do not make me an abusive parent. And I guess that's all I got, but the rest of the stuff in the folder are just pictures and videos of Amaya in college a long time ago, and that's it. But all they've ever had against me was just dirty pee. That's pretty much, every time it's always just been dirty pee from day one, from 2009. It was dirty pee back then. That's the only reason they've ever taken any of my kids from dirty pee. It's never been child abuse. Like, they've never found that I've actually abused my child, which is really sad.
Thank you, Ms. Sales. Let me just confirm, you are offering all of the exhibits that you uploaded into ShareFile, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
So how do you know that you still have PTSD if you don't have?
You don't get rid of it. You don't get rid of it on your own. It's not something you get rid of. Just like bipolar, it's not something you get rid of, which is why you can't take kids for that, because it's a lifelong thing. You just can't say, oh my God, she's bipolar. Let's go take her kid. It doesn't work like that. You got to have the 4th Amendment requires, what does it require? Probable cause. Probable cause of child abuse is not bipolar disorder. It's not drug use. It's probable cause of child abuse. Proof a child has been abused. You can't take a kid for PTSD or bipolar or anything like that. It has to actually be probable cause. 4th Amendment, the supremacy clause of the Washington State Constitution, it goes over everything that you guys talk about. You guys have to follow the Constitution of the United States. The supremacy clause says so, and so does the supremacy clause actually in the Washington State Constitution, which is what you guys are bound by too. So, don't act like you don't have to follow the Constitution. You do. So you have to have proof of child abuse and neglect. You can't just take kids and say, oh my God, she's bipolar. Oh my God, she's a drug addict. So what? So is half the world. We don't take all their kids because of it. Seriously. Nobody would have kids if that were the case.
Okay. You said addiction is lifelong. Are you currently using any intoxicating substances?
No, I'm not.
When was your last use?
I've never used drugs in my life, ever.
Do you believe that substance use can have any impact on a person's ability to parent?
I do not.
Why not?
Unless they're making their child do drugs, then no, I don't. Unless they're like shooting needles in their arms of their child, I don't see how I just don't, unless they have to actually abuse their child for it to have an effect. I think that drug use is unfortunate and being on drugs is unfortunate, but I've seen drunk people raise kids and they grow up just fine and they're not freaking out on their parents or anything. So, it's okay when drunk people do it. And I'm pretty sure your parents had a couple drinks back in their day, but nobody took you away from, your parents. So, for them to point fingers, it really just shows that it proves racism, really, because there's no probable cause. That's what this whole case proves, is racism. There's no reason for them to take my kids. So that proves that they're racist. Of course, you guys don't see that because you're, who knows?
Who's them?
That black lady, that's your boss.
What problems does the bipolar create for you?
I don't know, I'm not bipolar. Who told you I was bipolar? What does this have to do with abusing Amaya? That's what I want to know.
Given how long Amaya has been placed in licensed foster care, why do you believe that your parental rights should not be terminated?
Okay, so here's the law. The law requires that I sign your document in order for my rights. Sign the document first and agree to participate in services. I did it. So you have no obligation to save my daughter from anything. You have an obligation to bring my daughter back to me because I never signed your documents. You can't even, right now this termination trial is unlawful. You can't terminate my rights unless I sign the document. It says it in RCW. There's no, even in the termination part, RCW, 1334-180, it says the same thing. I must have signed the document first. And okay, I've been offered services. That's only if I sign the document. I only have to do services if I sign the document. I never signed the document. Technically, she's been held hostage for almost 2.5 years. I've never signed anything. In order for you to keep my daughter in a foster home, I have to sign your dependency order, and I never signed it. That's why you guys hire lawyers to try to get them to sign it for me, and it's not happening. So whatever, right now, the foster parents have a document with my signature on it. That's fraud. That's forgery. And I'm going to go up there to Issaquah and get a copy of it, and then everybody's getting sued again.
Okay, hold on. Ms. Ives, hold on 1 second. I have to close my door because there's a lawnmower outside. Hold on 1 second. When you say you have to sign a document, what document are you talking about?
The dependency order. I never signed it. So whatever you gave the foster parents is fraud. You gave them forgery is what you gave them. When I go up to the hospital and I get her medical records and I find out what you gave them, it's all over with. It's a wrap.
Now, we've discussed this in the past, though, and the fact is that your order for the order for dependency that related to you wasn't an agreed order. It followed a trial.
It followed a trial based on what? Perjury, right? Okay, great. So you already had the attendance records, didn't you? You got them on the 17th of March. You got them a day after she was taken away because it's the law for you to get them. Under the law, under the shelter care hearing law, it says the school records and everything. So you've known from the day you've taken her that her attendance was perfect. You've known that there was no. I have the note that says from her principal saying that she did not act out in school ever, and you have it too. So you have no documented proof of her attendance. You have no documented proof of her acting out in class. All you have is hearsay from that teacher who lied, who Jenny Cowan got to lie, and that black lady got to lie. They suborned perjury from that teacher, and that teacher got sued for it. And that's in exhibit number 70, I believe. You should read the entire thing. There's a link to it on her committing perjury in that thing. And I said right when she said it, I said, why did you lie? I knew she was lying right when she said it, and I called her out on it right away. I mean, I'm saying that was based on perjury. There's no child abuse finding. She was taken for risk only. Where's the child abuse? When was she abused? She was taken for risk only, right? You have to have a child abuse finding to even create a case plan. It's child welfare policy under the Adoption and Safe Families Act. The Adoption and Safe Families Act of 1997 requires a child abuse finding before you create a case plan. They can't even create a case plan. Follow the law. Try following the law sometime, You know what the law is, don't you? You should try following it.
If at the end of this trial, the court decided not to terminate your parental rights, what would be different 6 months from now? How would things have changed?
She's probably still going to be in a foster home because you guys are going to keep her in a foster home and you're going to appeal it and file again and file again and file again. And I'm going to keep suing everybody and their mother until the end of time, and including their mothers, because I know who all of their mothers are for giving birth to a kidnapper.
I'm sorry, whose mothers are you suing?
All of your mother and everybody else's mother. I'm going to sue all of their mothers. Yes. Biological mothers. Giving birth to a kidnapper. Yes.
You're going to sue my mom for giving birth to a kidnapper?
Yeah.
What will have changed in your situation in 6 months? Will you, if the court if the court denies the petition and now you have more time to try to get Maya returned to your care, what will you do to try to... Ma'am?
Yeah, that's exactly my point. Go ahead and finish the question.
Thank you. If the court denies the petition and doesn't terminate your rights over the course of the next 6 months, what will you do to try to have Amaya returned to your care?
I'm just going to keep suing everybody. I don't plan on doing anything different.
Why if your prior lawsuits have been dismissed, why do you keep filing them?
I'm allowed to sue people for whatever reason when they violate my rights, no matter what reason it is. So like, let's say I sued them for committing perjury, which is what I did for the last one, right? Okay, so now they're doing something different. Now they're lying about this. They're doing something else. Then I could sue for that too. So it doesn't matter what they do. Each time I just keep suing for whatever reason I want to, really. Pick her up. Bring her here. I'll take her. I know she got chocolate cookies everywhere. Come here, pumpkins. I'm sorry, Mamacita. What's the matter with the baby? Oh, what's the matter with the baby? What's the baby? It's okay. It's okay. You want to say hi? You say hi.
Let me just follow up on that then. So I asked what you would do to try and get Amaya returned to your care, and you said keep suing everybody.
That's not what I'm doing to get Amaya returned to my care. I'm not going to do your services, okay? Just get that out of your head. I'm never going to do your services. But please stop asking if I'm going to do your services. I will never, ever, ever, ever. As a matter of fact, I'll go the opposite direction of your services. Your services are racist. You don't ask black people to do services. You don't. You're racist. So no, I'm not going to do your services. So stop asking. Yes, Mama. Here, Mama.
So I'm still trying to understand, how do you think that suing people is going to help you have Amaya returned to your care?
I don't. I just like taking people's jobs. I enjoy terminating people's jobs. That's what I enjoy doing. It doesn't look, I can see now that even when I did the services, you never tried to give her back to me. So why would I start now? When I did do what I was supposed to do, you said I didn't do it. So I'm going to be stupid and keep trying to do it, like, so you could say it again that I didn't do it? No, I'm not that stupid. I know what it is now. I see it for what it is. I see the racism. I see the hate. So I will not do what you want, and I will always sue the black people. And that's what I'm going to focus on. So that's going to be my number one goal, is to sue them. And if I don't care if they believe me or if you believe me, it's true. What's the matter, Mama? You got chocolate on your back.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, these are appeals from my state's Supreme Court. And I have to do this because I just read these and I'm like, because I'm going through an appeal right now. And the reasons that they give, and I know some of these are fake because they just sound too stupid to be true. But just imagine if this is what they're doing now, what they're doing that we don't see. Okay, because this is so dumb and petty and non-child abuse that it's kind of like a no-brainer. But this is one that Jenny Mayberry Cowan, the one who continuously tries to bully me for my children, and she's a complete and utter loser. She's the employee of the Department of Justice. All the CASA, anyone from this office right here is the Department of Justice. So, I don't know why they're involved with child dependency. Probably because juveniles are considered kind of delinquents, or they used to be. But I don't see why she's involved with infants at all. I think she wants to adopt one. I don't know. But this one is just weird, okay? They terminated this woman's rights, and she was 21 years old, and the baby was 2 years old. In August 2013, JM swallowed a dime while in her mother's care. Okay, so clearly the mother didn't force the dime down the child's throat. So she didn't give the child a dime. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that she approved the swallowing of the dime. So she accidentally swallowed a dime. Okay, so over the course of several days, she became lethargic and lost her appetite. By the time Casey sought medical help, surgery was necessary to remove the coin. The incident resulted in a founded finding of neglect against Casey by Child Protective Services. That was not supposed to happen because that was an accidental swallowing of the dime, so we know that much. On October 24, 2013, CPS removed JM from Casey's care after Casey's mother discovered bruises. Now I don't know what that's about, but still, it doesn't really prove anything because unless they saw her hitting the baby or something, then it could have been anybody. I see babies with bruises all the time. They fall, that's what they do. So, they had to prove that. That would have to be proven. But it is questionable. In January 2014, Casey and the department executed an agreed order of dependency. This is where she messed up. Casey admitted to substance abuse and diagnosis of ADHD. She's young. She doesn't know that everything she's telling these people is going to, ruin her entire life. If this is even true. Marijuana dependence. Now look, marijuana is legal now, so I know this is really, this has got to make people go nuts now. An oppositional defiant order. She agreed to participate in a number of services, including a drug and alcohol evaluation. So it went from swallowing a coin to now they're prying through her entire life and her issues from swallowing a coin, okay? From an accidental coin swallowing, it went to, and this bruises on the chest thing, that would have probably just went away with time, and it was probably something that was accidental also. But of course they're going to bring it up and try to use it against her. She agreed to participate in a number of services. Okay, so we did that one. Consistently clean, misdiluted. And this is always what they say to me, remember? A psychological the same dumb doctors in this one, Dr. Tootie. The same doctors, the same idiots are taking these. This is 2000, actually started in 2013, this one. So look, it's 2016, she's just now appealing. 3 years of hell with these idiots. Kegel described it now to. So then she's like, she's staying in a hotel. Oh, quite a few beer cans. Pungent smell of marijuana. Oh, big deal. So what? Casey subsequently arrived in a car reeking of marijuana. Now marijuana is legal, so I don't know how that works, but yeah. Kegel referred Casey to Family Preservation Services, which included a parenting oh my god. Although she was not totally consistent with that service, Casey did make some progress. Kegel also referred her for a drug and alcohol evaluation. So it went from swallowing a coin to a drug and alcohol evaluation to knowing all of her mental health issues to requiring that she comply with totally different things that have nothing to do with swallowing a coin, okay? Kegel recommended that Casey's parental rights be terminated, noting Casey's failure to complete service requirements. Casey is continuing to use substances. She's 21, okay? She's not complying with her service plan. She's not doing outpatient treatment. She's not engaged in individual counseling. She's denying that she has any parental deficiencies to begin with because she doesn't. Her child swallowed a coin. That's all children do crazy shit like that. Right there is a huge risk. These people are smoking crack. When she sat up there and said that she's gotten it from the beginning, that worries me. She doesn't have it. Look at how they just put her down left and right. She changes her story on a day-to-day basis, and she cannot sit here and tell me how she's going to care for JM and follow through with that. I mean, just today I found out the visit provider dropped the visits because Casey hasn't been consistent at them. Maybe she didn't have a ride. She hasn't been consistent or stable in the child's life, and that right there is a risk to this child. Well, if you wouldn't take the child, she wouldn't have to be consistent. I've heard her on numerous occasions say that she's going to do something and not do it. Great reason to terminate her rights. Kegel said that all necessary services have been understandably offered and provided, that Casey never expressed any confusion or difficulty understanding what she needed to do to avoid termination. Kegel saw little likelihood of that conditions could be remedied so that JM could be returned to Casey in the near future. Shannon Rama, a chemical dependency counselor at Sound Mental Health, testified that she conducted a chemical dependency assessment. In her assessment, which the court admitted into evidence, so they got the evidence that they have for her abusing her child is all her issues. So ADHD, possible bipolar, prior arrest, this is all about her. None of it is, I don't know, her intentionally abusing the child, which is what we'd be probably looking for, right? Randall Seeger testified that UA results, again, her. It's all about her. Mental health counselor Popoff testified that he worked with Casey on parenting skills between September. She missed a couple of appointments. Again, her defects. Again, her defects. housing, sobriety, family interaction. So because she's 21, not supposed to have housing at 21, I don't think. I mean, it's not that easy. But the latter progress was not implemented very much because there was a lot of visitations during the service. There weren't a lot of visitations. They don't say why she didn't come see her child or what excuse she gave them, of course. Had some resistance to complying with the goals because she didn't necessarily agree with what was being asked of her to do. Yeah, because you're asking her to do everything that has nothing to do with swallowing a coin. Look at this punk. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be mean, but the same doctor terminating rights for years. And he gets a bonus too every time someone's rights are terminated. He gets a cut. And he's been lying on people for years. He needs to be completely abolished from being a doctor at all. He's a crook, criminal, and weirdo, and lies about everything. Dr. Tootie noted a pattern of inconsistent visitations and a tendency to blame her setbacks and challenges onto others like 99% of the world, which is consistent with the rebellious themes detected in testing. He concluded Casey presented at moderate risk toward the safety and well-being of JM. You know how many people are a moderate risk to the safety and well-being of their child? Gazillions. He recommended that Casey achieve 6 to 9 months of sobriety. Damn. Yeah, right, okay. Received a referral for UA testing and recommended termination. When she asked Casey why she was not fully participating in services, Casey said she was upset with the department. Yeah, I'd be too. Take my baby for no fucking reason, bitch. Is 2 years old. She's a vulnerable child at this point in her life. She needs to have stability. She needs to have consistency. Really. She needs all of those things that Casey has not provided for her. And it seems to me that she would be at risk to be returned home right now. Do you know how many children are at risk at home right now? You kidding, right? Okay, this is another one. Department of Justice. Jenny Mayberry Cowan. Right here, boom. Around the same year as the last one. In this appeal from an order terminating Steve Ostrander's parental rights to his son, BMAO, Ostrander challenges the sufficiency of the evidence supporting the trial court's conclusion under RCW 1334 that the Department of Social and Health Services expressly and understandably offered or provided all necessary and reasonably available services capable of correcting its parental deficiencies within the foreseeable future. Because substantial evidence supports the trial court's finding, and because the court's findings as a whole support blah blah blah. Okay. In November 2009, Child Protective Services, now mind you it's 2013. Okay, so in November 2009, Child Protective Services received a referral from a person who had seen then 1-year-old BMAO living in a filthy trailer with his father, Steve Ostrander. The referent claimed that the trailer had no refrigerator or running water. CPS workers and a police officer visited the trailer. After looking through the window, the officer confirmed that the trailer was in a deplorable condition, unacceptable in terms of child safety and well-being. So now they're saving children from the what if. Ostrander agreed to speak with the CPS workers but asked to be interviewed at his landlord's house. He said he did not want visitors in his trailer because he had trashed it. During the interview, the CPS worker asked Ostrander why BMAO had a bump on his head. Ostrander said the child had fallen while sleeping. Okay. When the worker asked about a rash near the child's genitals, so he had a diaper rash, Ostrander acknowledged he had not changed. Right, Ralph. He had not, this has got to be fake, changed BMAO's diaper in 2 days. Okay. I mean, technically, I think that is kind of child abuse if he really said that, or maybe neglect at a minimum. He said he did not have, but it's not a reason to terminate someone's rights. He said he did not have money to buy diapers. He also acknowledged that BMAO recently, I don't think 2 days is even possible for a child to keep a diaper. Maybe, but I just, I just, I mean, I see that diaper falling off at about day one, just from being soaked, and that's just my opinion. If he pees like a normal kid anyway. Recently cut himself on an aluminum can Ostrander had left on BMAO's diaper bag. The injury required stitches. Again, another accidental injury. The CPS workers decided to take BMAO into protective custody while the workers conferred privately with the officer. However, Ostrander disappeared with BMAO. That was a mistake. The CPS workers searched Ostrander's trailer and photographed its condition. However, he has a right to leave with his child. If they didn't tell him to stay and he just left, I mean, he might have just, thought he'd go somewhere. I mean, if they didn't tell him to stay, then I guess he has a right to leave, right? They observed that his kitchen table was completely covered with cigarette butts, that the toilet was clogged, that a small electrical device had been dropped in the toilet. Okay, I don't know what significance that has. Contained no food, diapers. Okay, so for a home to contain no food, so what? They might be going out to eat every day. How do you know this guy doesn't have money? I mean, he could still be going to McDonald's every day. So for it to have no food doesn't matter. And all the necessities you can get at the store. I mean, technically, he did admit he didn't have diapers, but all these necessities that they're saying he doesn't have, he could go to the store and get right now. I mean, just because he doesn't have them on him doesn't mean he doesn't have the capability of going to get them. And plus, even if those are necessities that people don't have, doesn't mean the child's going to be abused, okay, by the person. That just means that they're doing bad. So what? I mean, we take the child and terminate the guy's rights? Really? 2 days later, CPS located BMAO and took him into protective custody. Ostrander was arrested and charged with fourth-degree criminal mistreatment. For what? Oh, probably for taking him. He pled guilty to the charge. That sucks. Maybe he got charged for taking the baby and not... I don't know what criminal mistreatment he did. Or maybe the diaper? I don't know, it's just weird. In March 2010, the trial court entered an agreed order finding BMAO dependent. The court also entered a dispositional order requiring Ostrander to participate in drug and... So now it went from... Yeah, okay, I understand. Maybe it all has to do with drugs, right? They might be right. Random urinalysis, mental health counseling, and a psychological evaluation. But let's call it what it is. Let's call it adult protective services and not child, because that's what you're focused on. In September 2011, the department filed a petition to terminate Ostrander's parental rights to BMAO. In April 2012, following a termination trial, the court granted the department's petition and committed BMAO to the department's custody. Ostrander appeals. Parental rights are fine. Yeah, well, shit, they don't care. So first of all, let's just go through these things. That the child has been found dependent. Okay, we got that much. That the court has entered a dispositional order. I don't know how they did that. Oh yeah, because he agreed to the order. That the child has been removed or will be removed from the custody. Well, that never happened, because that's not written in the law, so that never even happened. So that one's gone. That the services ordered have been expressly and understandably offered. So what they didn't give him was a nice clean place. They didn't go and offer to help him clean up the place, did they? I didn't see anything like that up there. They didn't teach him how to clean his place. Maybe he wasn't raised right and he needs to learn how. Maybe someone needs to go into his home and actually help him clean up his home so that he can have a clean home for his child. Maybe the mental health needs to be looked at a little bit further, and someone needs to help him. Some people just don't know. And if you train them, over and over again, they might start to get it. But if that's even if he were a dirty person and the kid was getting into all kinds of crazy accidents, that's still no reason to terminate his rights. So he didn't intentionally do that to the child. Something is mentally wrong, but that doesn't mean you terminate his rights. I think it's nice that you guys want what's best for children, but you can't keep the entire world's children safe from their parents. That's their parents, that's life. Just because you don't like the way they're dirty or whatever, well, some people are dirty, some people are clean. You don't terminate their rights because of it. That's just weird. You only terminate their rights for intentional child abuse. This is not intentional child abuse. I don't know why they even got to charge him with criminal mistreatment for that, but maybe it was the diaper thing. I don't know. I honestly don't think a diaper would stay on that long. If a baby saturates a diaper, it's off. I mean, it'll just start to sag and come right off. There's no way it would stay on for 2 days. At least I don't think it would. Not a 2-year-old. Okay, when the trial court has weighed the above evidence, we ask whether the court finds that they're... So what they're doing is they're taking children for the possibility of something happening in the future. Because nothing has happened yet, obviously. But they're taking the kid because they're like, oh my god, look, his house is dirty. The kid, something might happen to the kid. That's what it's based on, basically. And they terminate this guy's rights. And, yeah, he's got issues. Of course he's got issues. You know, mental health, drug, alcohol, whatever. We understand that. So because he didn't... So what do you expect someone who doesn't clean their house to comply with your order? If they don't clean their house, they're not going to comply with your order. That's a no-brainer. I mean, I don't understand why they expect these people to be perfect in one area of their life, but imperfect in all the others. They should have expected that to happen. Lacks insight to move to the next level of competence in a foreseeable future. So what? Do you know how many parents suck ass? 1 trillion. Jeez. His failure to recognize the risk to the child and his own responsibility for creating the conditions the child was found in. Is the child alive? Did the child have to go to the hospital? Was this intentional? I mean, I get it. You know, okay, guy's got problems. That's no reason to terminate his rights. I'm sorry. There's a lot of fucked up people in the world. Until that child is abused, I mean, I guess, you know, in my mind, I would have never took the kid. I would have just helped him clean the place, and then maybe came back in a day or two and seen if, you know, it stayed clean, but I definitely wouldn't have took the kid for it. That's traumatizing a child for no reason. You know, Ostrander argument fails as a party claiming he must present argument. See, and he probably didn't even make that argument. It's these lawyers, the lawyers that are lawyers for these people who appeal, they're lawyers in training. So they make these arguments that are so dumb and baseless. I would have never said that. You know, and these arguments that they didn't offer the right services or something like that. Dude, you just took my kid for no reason. That would be my argument. Like, what the fuck? I don't know. These people don't know what they're doing. This court has no obligation to search the record for facts supporting Ostrander's assertions. Rather, unless the appellant demonstrates error, we will defer to the trial court's finding that the department offered or provided all necessary reasons. Jesus Christ. As with any challenge to the sufficiency of evidence, Mr. Ostrander does not need to identify evidence to affirmatively support his claim. The lack of evidence on the record in these matters indicates instead that the department failed to meet its burden at trial. He misstates his burden on appeal because he challenges the court's finding regarding the department's offer of services. He must point to evidence in the record demonstrating the necessity and reasonable availability of additional services capable of correcting his deficiencies in the foreseeable future. By failing to cite the record, he cannot sustain his burden. Are you serious? For the first time in his reply brief, Ostrander cites the trial testimony of a psychologist and a social worker to argue that targeted counseling and housing assistance were necessary and reasonably available services. We need not consider his untimely argument. God. Regardless, the cited testimony does not support Ostrander's claim. Neither witness testified that Ostrander needed targeted counseling and follow-up care to supplement existing mental health care. Just the fact that he's even arguing, dude, you're not seriously going to play this man and trick him into believing that you have a right to terminate his rights with absolutely no evidence that he abused his child. And all the injuries that were stated were from accidental injuries, from issues that could have been remedied by your department, who refused to remedy them. They instead took the child and forced the child into another family who had a cleaner home, which makes absolutely no sense at all. I mean, I get it. Shit happens. But the what if is not what we're taking kids for. Okay? No, it's not CPS's job to take kids into custody because the child might fall. If that were the case, nobody would have children. Okay? They just pick and choose who they want, and for adoption reasons, of course. The age is perfect, under 2. They want to force these kids into illegal adoptions, pretty much. Even if we assumed, without deciding, that targeted counseling, follow-up care, and housing assistance were necessary to reasonably available services capable of correcting Ostrander's parental deficiencies within the foreseeable future, Ostrander fails to explain why the department was obligated to offer or provide those services in addition to the services it already offered or provided, because that's the reason why they took the kid. So why wouldn't they? What they should have done is they should have cleaned out his whole trailer themselves. Even if he didn't pick up a thing, they should have cleaned it all. If they really want those parents, the parent and child, to stay together and have a relationship. Yeah, I know, it sounds crazy, right? No, they should have cleaned all of it themselves and then said, okay, now keep it this way. And if we come back in a week and your house is trashed, then we'll take the kid, okay? And then see if he can hang. You know, a lot of times people who have mental issues, they don't see what's happening around them. They don't know that it's their mental issues that are causing, you know, their house to remain the way it is, or, you know, and they don't know. They're in a trance, you know. I mean, I'm sure they know, but they don't care. You know, their mental health is fading, or, you know. Basically, I'm not saying he shouldn't be held responsible, of course, but should that be a reason to terminate his rights? Absolutely not. You know, the father entered inpatient treatment in October 2010, but soon left treatment before successful completion, indicating he was leaving to see his ailing grandfather. Upon release from inpatient treatment, the father immediately began attending daily sober support meetings. However, he failed to engage in an outpatient drug treatment program. So he did a little bit of treatment. That was a mistake. It's like when you do a little bit, but you don't finish. Even if you finish, you're fucked. These people are snakes. The father has had medical funding and support individual mental health counseling over the course of a dependency, but has only periodically accessed those services. The father was approved to receive outpatient 3 different times following each proof of service outpatient. Well, of course he's not going to come to his scheduled appointments because he doesn't even keep his house clean. Like, the things that they expect from people that they already know are defective, they're expecting them to be like star citizens, and then, but you just seen that they were defective, so why would you expect them to be perfect? The way they operate makes absolutely no sense. It's like they set people up for failure. The father was unavailable to participate in services or to visit. Now that's a bad thing. I will say that they lie a lot of times and say that parents don't visit their children, and they really do, or they really try to, or it's usually for reasons that they cancel the visits and not the parents. So I wouldn't say that I believe anything when they say something about not visiting, because I've had extended periods where they canceled visits and then said that I failed to visit, but really it was them canceling the visits for vacations or whatever. So father has demonstrated a willingness to participate in services but has been unable to. Who cares? So now that he's not an outstanding service person, he gets to lose his parental rights. Yeah, this is what these people do. Snakes, okay? I just don't understand what he was arrested for. Criminal mistreatment of his child. For a dirty diaper for 2 days? Or for the stitches? Because I don't think he assaulted his child, did he? Okay, I'm back on this again. KC also claimed... Okay, I just had to come back to this because look at what this says. KC also claims that because she had a job and appropriate housing, completed parenting-related services, chemical dependency and psychological evaluations, and was ready to engage in treatment, findings that she was not ready to parent should be stricken. Duh! In particular, she contends the court's findings that her inability to keep her life stable and meet her own basic needs placed the child at risk is contrary to the evidence that she had appropriate housing and a job. Oh my god, this isn't good enough to watch. She maintains that isolated incidents in which she may have acted in some other manner were unrelated to her parenting and do not support the trial court's broad and cynical conclusions that she placed JM at risk. If this is what she had and they still terminated her rights, dude, then we're all in trouble. For similar reasons, she contends finding of fact 2.11 must be stricken to the extent it provides that the mother remains currently unfit to parent the child because the mother did not make progress to address her substance abuse issues. Okay, drug problems are like a lifelong thing. Why are they so bent on this, and why are they pretending that that's really what it is, when what it really is forced illegal adoptions? Her substance abuse and mental health issues continue to place the child at risk for neglect in her care. And she has her rights terminated because of this. And she had completed most of the services. What do they want from her? Like, I don't think it has anything to do with what she's doing. I think they just hate her, which is highly concerning because she didn't even do anything to the child. I just had to say this because I'm like shocked. As I started to read this again, I'm like, you mean she had a job, appropriate housing, and they still didn't like her? Oh, wow. Yeah, it's definitely personal with Casey. Definitely.
You were successful in doing some intensive outpatient there, correct?
I was a victim of a crime committed by a state official who thought she had jurisdiction over my fetus. I graduated treatment 2 times, and they still harassed me for possession of Amaya when she was born. They said that I would not get Amaya, and I did. I took her home, but I had to sign a contract to take her home, or I thought I did at the time. And then I was harassed for 2 years unlawfully, without warrant, without anything. I wouldn't even have been thinking about drugs at that time. I was working. I was doing my own thing. I wasn't even worried about what they were talking about, but they kept talking about it. Like, I shouldn't have even been talking about drugs. Can I move on with my life? Can I ever move on with my life? Because the only person who keeps talking about drugs is CPS. Like, they want drugs. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. Sometimes when people abstain from doing things, that's how they stop. They don't stop by continuing to talk about it. And you guys are like always in my face and talking about the same thing like over and over again. It's like, I wasn't even thinking about it until you said something. And now I'm like, what the heck what am I doing here? Why am I in treatment and I haven't used in 3 years? You know what I mean? No, sorry. You guys, what you do is you bring misery intentionally. And then you're like, oh, but please, don't you want to get help? And it's like, nobody even needed help until you got inside of their lives. Now they need help, you know, because you traumatized them, took their children, you know, and that's what the trauma is from. Your actions, not from drugs. That's for sure.
So did you do sober support meetings and AA meetings?
Did your husband do those when he was caught with marijuana a couple of years ago in Pennsylvania?
Ms. Saez, I'm asking you if you did sober supports.
You smoke marijuana. So why are you? I'm sure he didn't stop smoking marijuana, did he?
You didn't file a lot of legal pleadings or file lawsuits in the first dependency, but you're doing it in this dependency. Can you explain why?
Because I did not know my rights. I would have sued the first judge. I would have slaughtered him if I knew what to do. I had no idea I could do it by myself. And it's really fun, actually.
In terms of your medication, I thought I saw something in Dr. Tutty's evaluation. I just wanted to clarify. Do you have, were you on medication for seizures when you were a child?
No.
The medication that you were on was for bipolar diagnosis when you were diagnosed with bipolar?
I was never diagnosed with bipolar. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, it might be someone else you're talking about.
What do you think that you've done in this case to help you reunify with Amaya?
I'm suing the FBI tomorrow. That's my final, you know. And the Kent police, they're going to be sued too. This weekend is law enforcement weekend. I'm going to do all the cops and detectives that didn't help me. Mama, what are you singing for? I love you. What? Oh, come here. I know. Come here. Can I sing? You want to hear? She's like, why are you talking to them and not me? Come here. Here, look it. Come here. I got something for you. I got something for you right here. Look. See? Ooh. Yeah, here. Come on. Oh, come here. Yeah, she just doesn't like when I'm talking on this thing. She thinks that I'm talking to somebody and doesn't understand why I'm not talking and playing with her, I guess.
Yes, understood. Go ahead, Ms. Cowan.
Ms. Ayers, what do you think Amaya's needs are in terms of her emotional needs?
I think she needs to come home because it's been a long time and she's starting to lose hope. She doesn't understand why. I have a baby with me and my son with me, and she's not with me. She is the one who's always suffered. And you know, she cried every day for a long time, and she needs to come home.
Do you think that it was helpful to Amaya for you to tell her that she was being kidnapped by CPS?
Do you know that they didn't tell her anything? She said, "Mom, when are you coming to pick me up?" You know, 5-year-olds don't have a sense of humor. You know that, right? They don't have a sense of humor. They're dead serious when they say what they say. She said, "When are you coming to pick me up?" That means nobody told her anything. For weeks, she thought I abandoned her. So yeah, I told her she was kidnapped because she was kidnapped. It was illegal what they did.
There was a note from Jody Davis that you said you needed Marcel to remind you that Anya was in the car. Is that correct?
No, I actually set my alarm to do that for me. I didn't need him to do it. I think she got the story mixed up. What it was is I set an alarm on my phone to remind me that, yeah, because I read this thing on the Oprah show. It was like in a magazine or something, that this lady went to work and she left her kid in the car and the kid died. And I was like I was driving for so long, for a while, from here to Bellevue, and I had, I'm taking Seroquel, and it makes me like really tired. So I thought, driving for so long and having a small little baby in the car that was so quiet, yeah, I set my alarm to remind me that she was in the car so I could get her out the car.
Excuse me,
not leave her in the car.
Go ahead.
I missed a word. Ms. Zayas said she's taking something and it makes her sleepy, but I couldn't. Seroquel. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And referring back to the guardian ad litem, Pauline Duke, is it your testimony that you've never spoken to Miss Duke?
No, it's my testimony that she never spoke to Amaya.
So you do recall speaking to Miss Duke?
I don't know if that was her or not, but somebody called me and told me they were the CASA. Not sure.
Okay.
It didn't sound like her. From the recordings I got from the trial where she was saying I had holes in my brain, she sounded like a totally different person at trial.
Okay. Do you recall speaking with Miss Duke by phone on 2 occasions in September 2020?
Just one time, yeah.
And did you receive an email from me through the CASA program to set up a time to speak with the current CASA, Brianna Johnston Hanks?
Yeah, and I told you guys to go jump off a cliff, and I'm not ever talking to you. And I mean it.
When Anya was placed with Amaya's foster parents, you are working with the CPS social worker, Julie Draper, correct?
Yes.
And did you find your work with Ms. Draper helpful to you?
After reading what she wrote, I'll have to say no. But before reading what she wrote, I did, until I read what she wrote. Now I don't like her anymore.
In what ways did you find her helpful?
She gave me my kid back when she was supposed to.
Okay. But you did services in coordination with Ms. Draper, correct?
No, I just went pee, that's all. I didn't do services.
Well, but you worked with a public health nurse and you worked with a doula in your home, correct?
Yes, but she said that didn't matter in my case. And she said that it wouldn't count for anything that in Amaya's case or Anya's case, because I don't know, something about it's the law that they have to have public health nurses coming to visit everybody now after a baby's born. I read it in the law. It's like a law that I don't know, something weird like that. She said it wouldn't count for me, that these services were just, not the doula, but the public health nurse was something that I guess all parents do. And plus, she said that, she said it wouldn't count for me for Amaya or Anya because I didn't have a case with Anya and it didn't matter. So, yeah, she gave me Anya that. I don't think that, I think they would have taken Anya if they would have known I was giving birth.
How often did you meet with Ms. Draper?
Just like 4 or 5 times.
She came to your house?
Yeah, and it's weird, like how I gave you guys my kid, and I got her back in like a week or two, but now you've had Amaya for 2.5 years. And I could get one kid back real fast, but the other kid you still want to hold on to for some reason. And I don't understand that.
In terms of your release of information, you signed one for the Department of Public Defense investigator, but you didn't sign one for the Department of Social Worker. Can you explain why?
Because they're corrupt, and they were trained by Black people, and those Black people trained them to torture me, and they use everything that I give them as ammo. They have nothing really, right? So they have nothing. Then they take these old reports from 2014, like David does, and, you know, annihilates them and says, oh, well, this is what we have. And really, they don't have anything, but they dig out little dumb stuff from their mental health, especially mental health. And so I realized that, and I say, you know, I'm not giving them anything. It's not when I sit there and I watch my friends who are African American and they do not have this problem at all. Like, they don't even have monitored visits or anything, and they go to jail and everything. And I just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing it, buddy. Like, I'm not gonna play that game. And
Yes, Mr. Wilson. Hold on, Mrs.
Object is to hearsay regarding her Black friends who go to jail and don't have any problem with CPS. And
I could have one testify this afternoon if you want. She's waiting for me to call her.
Hang on, Ms. Ayers. Ms. Cowan, would you like to rephrase the question? Because I don't know whether that's from what they've told her or if it's from her observations. So why don't we do this? Ms. Ayers, can you clarify the source of your knowledge of your friends who are African American and how you know what's going on with them in CPS? Is that from what they've said to you, or is it from what you've observed?
Just had a baby 2 months ago. Her baby was born within its system, and the baby went to another person and did not go to a foster home. So, I mean, it's not just one. I've got like 12, and it's always actively happening. They haven't stopped. They keep doing it.
Okay.
It's not, you know, I could go on, but.
Okay, thank you.